Welcome into episode 473 of the Skate Podcast. I am Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. Bridget and Scott, I listened to your last episode. Well done. Very well done. Some great content from there. And I was honestly pondering the entire time about the Bruins prospect list you guys went over. Some college players or players that prospects you thought may have been great and panned out not to be so great and vice versa. So it was some fun conversation. And the last question from a listener about the fan media availability and paying to that was interesting. I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, and
okay.
I don't want to think about it too much more because I hope it doesn't happen. So
yeah, I'd be out of an industry.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't put many in there because it's really a small room anyway. In most cases, and definitely here, definitely at TD Garden. I don't know if anyone would have ever wanted to pay to be in like a Bill Belichick press conference because I can promise you it was like the worst experience that I've had. It was like so bad. When I was 21, I think I asked him one question when I was working at Channel 25. And he just, even if it's a positive question, he'd just be like, everybody did good. You know, like you ask him about what play did, everybody did good. And it wouldn't have been worth money. So
yeah,
it could have been disappointing for people to pay for that. But
and Scott, before opening shift, just quickly, I feel like Mike Vrabel in the few press conferences that he's had so far, he's taking more of that Belichick approach than the Gerard Mayo approach, where I don't know, Mike, you might want to. You're in your first training camp. You might want to be a little bit more. Belichick at least waited until Spygate before he kind of turned into a Debbie Downer all the time.
Yeah, but I think Vrabel has. It's like he's like 80% grizzly bear, and then there's like 20% that is actually teddy bear, though. Like he can also be a little softer, and like he'll kind of like he'll catch you off guard, but like then he'll kind of like pull you back in a little. So I think he has a different gear that Belichick didn't have. Like he always starts every press conference saying like "Hi Karen" to like Karen Garigian. So it's like there is like at least a little bit of friendliness there where you're like, okay, I can at least see the side of him where I just want to like go have a beer with him. Whereas like Belichick, it's like you would hear that from people who are close to him. They're like, oh yeah, like he's actually like really funny away from football, but we would just never see any of that.
Yeah, Vrabel's like that scene in Happy Gilmore when he puts his finger up to the page and he's like, "Well, I saw those finger paintings you did and they suck." I'm sorry, I'm sorry, baby, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, yesterday Vrabel was asked about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce getting engaged, which Brian, we didn't get your reaction on that, but he was like, "I'm not going to comment on it," and then he did. Like he like continued to talk about it. And I was like, he wants to. Like you can just tell he wants to say more, but he knows he shouldn't. Basically, for a lot of questions, including like the rats and whatever. Anyway, this is not a football podcast.
But real quick though, just one last comment on that. No disrespect to T Swift. I love a good T Swift song. I am by far and away 3 out of 3 on this podcast for Swifties. You two are on another level. It's not even close, Scott. I don't know what you said you listened to the album and you didn't like it. I don't even know when albums come out. I don't listen to albums.
So that's fair. All right, fine. I'll take second. But I still like Bridget's another level higher than that. Like I would never have like 100 Taylor Swift songs on a road trip playlist.
Okay, well, I do. I have 3 different.
Like 7.
I have 3 different Taylor Swift playlists on my Spotify. I have Sad Taylor, I have Mad Taylor, and I have like
see that this is very much a different level than I am on.
We're flushing this out right now in real time. Yeah. It's Bridget, Scott, and then it's me, 100%. All right, Scott, let's get to the opening shift so people that are listening can finally hear some Bruins content today.
I was gonna say I could have tied Vrabel to Bruins because this is not my opening shift, but Marco Sturm was at Patriots practice yesterday. Don't know if there's anything else to say about that, but my opening shift is about national TV games because that schedule came out on Wednesday of every national TV game across TNT, ESPN, ABC, ESPN Plus, and the Bruins have 17 national TV games this year, which is tied for the second most. Only the Washington Capitals have more. A few other teams have also have 17. Detroit has 17. Colorado has 17, and the Bruins. So I remember saying this a while back on one of our episodes that I thought the Bruins were still going to have a bunch of national TV games, and it turns out that was right, because all that really matters is the market. Like, I don't want to say they don't care at all whether a team is good or not, but they know what their go-to markets are. They know which areas of the country actually watch hockey, and they want to keep putting those teams on TV, whether they project to be contenders or project to be playoff teams or not, which is why you see, the Bruins, even after a bad year, getting all these games. It's why Philly gets a bunch, and the Rangers, even a year after missing the playoffs, and Detroit, who's been down for a while, but is still a big hockey market. Pittsburgh, because they still have Crosby. Like, it doesn't matter that these are all teams that we think are going to be middle of the pack or worse. They're good TV hockey markets. And even if those teams have a down year, they would rather put those teams on than Carolina or like any Canadian team other than Toronto or Edmonton. Toronto, they can market a little, big city, US star with Austin Matthews. And obviously we know why Edmonton with McDavid. But most of the Canadian teams are like zeros. Like, they're just not on US TV. No Montreal, no Calgary, no Winnipeg, even though they won the President's Trophy last year. No Ottawa, even though they have an American star in Brady Tkachuk. So I see everyone, like, I saw so many people like getting pissed about this, but it's all about the market, guys. That's it. It's just the market. It doesn't really matter how good these teams are.
So before I go to my opening shift, which is indirectly related to Scott's, you mentioned Marco Stern being at Gillette, Scott, and that there was nothing much to come from it. There was one thing he said that caught my attention, which was somebody mentioned Zdeno Chara, and then Marco Stern mentioned, I actually just had a meeting with them.
Yeah, I did take note of that too.
I don't know what that's all about, but caught my ear.
Yeah, so it caught my ear too, but then, like, we do also have to remember, like, we know Zdeno Chara is working as an advisor, and when Don Sweeney talked about it, he specifically said, like, or among other things, mentioned helping the coaching staff. So I'm guessing this is just kind of a typical check-in type of meeting that's part of Chara's advisory role. But yeah, I know I did see like a couple people being like, "Oh, is Chara gonna have like a bigger role or something?" And I'm like, well, not necessarily. Like, this could just be part of the current role that he already has, even though we don't know too many details about what he actually does.
No, but I have seen him in the locker room after games last season, and during Marco Sturm's introductory press conference, he did mention both Bergeron and Chara and kind of talk about how he thinks they could help him bridge the gap between the players and himself. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bergeron even ends up as, an advisor for this team now that Sturm's there, because he has a lot of respect for him. And so, yeah, maybe we'll hear more about those two as we get closer to the season, if anything's changed in terms of their role with the organization. But yeah.
Okay, so to peel back the curtain a little bit more on Scott's opening shift, I just wanted to highlight the teams that the Bruins are playing and the frequency, and then just like I said, a side note off of that. So Scott mentioned they're playing 17 games. 3 of them are against Washington. 2 of them are against the Panthers, the Rangers, the Red Wings, the Lightning, the Flyers. 1 against Toronto, Dallas, Pittsburgh, and New Jersey. And then Scott mentioned there's no Montreal. Now, call me crazy if there were to be a Canadian nationally televised team. You would think that the most storied Canadian franchise in the NHL would be one. They're kind of like more or less the Yankees of the NHL. And when it comes to the Bruins, it's like ESPN not televising a Red Sox Yankees series at least once a year. Bruins Canadians has just taken such a step back in the last decade. And so I wanted to look at the numbers real quick. And I'm not saying that them not playing on the national TV schedule is a major indication of the rivalry being cooled down a bit. But I think in part it does. If the Bruins and the Canadians had a hot rivalry the last 10 years like they've always had, I think they would at least have one game on this docket together. And if the Canadians only had one nationally televised game in the U.S., it would probably be against the Bruins. So obviously, both teams have been going in different directions the last decade plus. And now, last season, the Canadians finally make the playoffs, and the Bruins, of course, take their step back. Now, did you guys happen to see what I tweeted out yesterday about this? Because if you didn't, then I'll try to ask you. And
I saw your tweet, so I won't cheat. But
okay, Bridget, how about you? Did you see it regarding this?
I feel like I saw it, but I didn't really read it. I was working at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Brian tweeted something about the schedule. And then I went back to working.
No, that's great. That's great.
She was like, oh, Brian D. Felice. Oh, I'm not reading that tweet.
Mute.
No.
Block.
All right. So Bridget, how long do you think the head-to-head playoff drought is between the Bruins and the Canadians what's the longest head-to-head playoff drought in their history, do you think?
It's got to be, I'm guessing now, right? No? Is it not now? The last 6 or 7 years?
So right now they're in a 11-year playoff drought head-to-head against each other.
Okay.
That's second all-time. It's quickly going to become the longest drought, I would imagine, unless they were to somehow meet in the playoffs this year, which even if they both made the playoffs, I don't think they'd even be in a situation where they'd be playing each other, because I don't think either one of them was, well, you never know, but maybe Montreal surprises, who knows? But long story short, the longest playoff drought between the two teams is 12 years, from 1931 to 1943. And as I just stated, they're currently in an 11-year head-to-head playoff drought. So
they haven't played in the playoffs since 2014.
No, I mean since 2014. Now the Canadians did go on a glorified COVID Canadian Division Stanley Cup final run, but outside of that, and then this past season, they've been at the bottom of the league. The Bruins have been near the top of the league, and even with that in mind, there was a stretch of time where when the 2019-2020 season got essentially canceled until the bubble, from that time until the next Bruins Canadians meeting, it was almost 2 calendar years, because when they did come back to play, it was the bubble. They didn't play each other. Then the following season, they had an NHL realignment with a Canadian only division. So the Bruins didn't play them that year either. So I don't think the Bruins played the Canadians again until the 2021-22 season, or I'm getting all mixed up with the years now. But so there's been a lack of frequency in their head-to-head meetings as well over the years, in the last 5 years. I don't know. It's cooled off. There's no other way to say it. And I think that the playoff head-to-head drought is just one way to kind of put a metric on it.
Yeah, you're right, because on the one hand, it's like I get not putting Montreal on TV because it's they've been down. Like, even just take the rivalry out of it, just them in general, they've been down. But they did take a big step forward last year and made the playoffs, and with an American star breaking out in Lane Hudson. So in theory, like, there should be some appeal there, but I think Montreal is tough even by Canadian market standards, because it's also French speaking. Like, it's almost just like a non-market for US television. So I get that, but you're right that when the rivalry is there, that alone is marketable. I mean, it was only 2016, less than a decade ago, that Boston Montreal was the Winter Classic. And we know that they're only putting teams and matchups in the Winter Classic that they think are going to draw. So, like, I was just looking up the ratings, and remember, that game was a blowout too.
Terrible.
Unfortunately for the Bruins. So, like, that probably didn't help. And so there was a little bit of a drop in the ratings that year, but not a huge one. Like, it still drew pretty well. So, yeah, Bruins Canadians, when they're both on and the rivalry's there, is definitely marketable. But you're right, it hasn't been there, and Montreal on their own is not great for US television.
All right, and my opening shift has to do with something I thought Brian would choose for his opening shift, which is the drop of the USA uniforms for the Olympics. And I'll throw it up on the screen, and maybe we start here for the episode with a fashion segment, guys, because they got McAvoy there in the middle. That's what you wanted, right, Brian?
Oh, I mean, common sense finally prevails. Bridget, I mean, I wish I should have sent you imagery from the 2018-2022 Winter Olympics as well to kind of put those up for comparison. But yeah, I mean, why ever stray from perfection? The only thing about these uniforms, and I think these are a 10 out of 10, absolute 10 out of 10. The only thing that I would entertain would be the implementation of red pants for contrast rather than blue. With that said, like I said, these are 10 out of 10. So, I mean, even if they had red pants, they'd still be a 10 out of 10. But that's the only thing I would consider. Otherwise, just outstanding, never stray from perfection.
I like the blue though.
Me too.
I think it looks really like it's not overwhelming. Like it's the focus is on like the actual emblem and everything. And I don't know, I like the striping. I just think it looks clean too. Like it's bold. Like the USA logo has like a little white underneath the red and it pops, and I don't know, the gloves even. I like everything about it.
Yeah, absolute fire. We are so back.
So back.
Yeah, they're not. So I think a lot of people like mistakenly think these are the 1980 Miracle design, and they're not.
No.
Like there's a lot of similarities, but Brian, you highlighted one. Like 1980, they had red pants,
right?
And the USA was also written like flat across the chest, like with a little curve to it, and it wasn't this diagonal USA. But and so like maybe just because it was the Miracle team, like maybe I'd slightly prefer that whole design and uniform get up overall. But like this is so close that I'm with you. It's still a 10 out of 10. Like the blue pants work, the diagonal USA works. Just the color and the striping in particular this is how it should always be for the US. Like how USA is written could maybe change, the pant color could maybe change, but this is the base of what it should always be. Like enough. Thank God we're away from I never liked the navy, like the really darker blue. They've had so many bad sleeve designs. They've had jerseys that had like almost no stripes or just like one thin stripe. Like this is so much better.
I mean, this isn't the most accurate representation of the colors of the American flag. When they go navy the way that they do, they stray from essentially I mean, right? This blue is the blue in the American flag. So, am I wrong about that?
I think that the blue in the American flag is darker.
Is it darker?
It's probably a little darker, yeah.
Okay, so it's somewhere in between.
This gives you more to like. This feels blue.
It just pops more, yeah.
When you say red, white, and blue, like this is the blue that people think of usually.
It's just extremely patriotic. The other thing too, Scott, about the 1980 jerseys, yes. So when I mentioned the red pants, that's probably the bias in me that with the Miracle movies and everything, and then they do have red pants there. They also had stars on those pants, but those jerseys, Scott, had thicker striping than these ones as well. So the stripe piping on these ones is thinner, a little bit thinner, and I think these kind of more emulate the 1960 jerseys, correct?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because those ones had the diagonal USA. I think they were also wearing red pants then. But yeah, that I believe when they first introduced these jerseys for like the World Junior team, probably almost like a decade ago at this point. At first it was like their alternates, and then they started wearing them regularly. But I think they were introduced as like 1960 throwbacks. Like that was clearly the base that they used for it.
So if they go based off of how they wear these uniforms at the junior level, then as far as the helmets go, the blue uniforms would have blue helmets and the white uniforms would also have blue helmets. Unless for the Olympics they just decide to give a matching helmet color to the jerseys that they're wearing. I don't know, but international hockey, sometimes they don't even bother with that. So if you're wondering if they're going to go with white helmets or blue or both, at the junior level, at World Juniors, they now do blue helmets on the white and blue helmets on the blue. So if they follow that template, that's what you can expect here too. But maybe they change that up.
Yeah, and we should mention, so these are introduced, and like the reason, so if you were watching when Bridget had the photo up, like Charlie McAvoy, Brady Tkachuk, Quinn Hughes are modeling them. Other players as well that, we're just not going to put up all of them. Bridget specifically is not putting up Austin Matthews. Do not even dare mention Austin Matthews.
This morning, I couldn't. I saw the picture and I just couldn't put it up. It was a little awkward. I was like, no, it's not going in here. This is like, I chose the best ones.
But so the reason all these players were together is it was the U.S. men's Olympic orientation camp out in Michigan, which there's no on ice part of that. So this isn't like tryouts or anything, but it was like to get the group together of basically every player that as of now USA Hockey is looking at as a possibility to make the team. Obviously we know, I think it was 6 players were already named, including Charlie McAvoy. But so that was taking place this week out in Michigan. And really it's mostly just probably, kind of team introduction, get coaches in front of them, some meetings, maybe some logistical stuff about, what's coming up and timelines about when they expect to make picks and all that kind of stuff. I saw like obviously these photos, which are going to be used for marketing and promotional material and all that. But we never talked to, I don't think we talked on here about the list of players who got invited, or maybe who didn't get invited, but probably worth just quickly touching on. There were 44 players. So I think they will get down to, I think it's either 23. I think it's 23 for the Olympics, or maybe 25. It might be 25. Because I think the way I was figuring it was, it's 25. Because it'll probably be 14 forwards, 8 defensemen, 3 goalies that they actually take. So there's 2 extra roster spots over 4 nations. So obviously McAvoy's there. Jeremy Swayman, one of 4 goalies who was invited. So along with Connor Hellebuck and Jake Ottinger, who were both on the 4 Nations team as well. And then Joey Decord was the 4th goalie, the only one who was not there for 4 Nations. But so I find that kind of interesting because that, I guess, right away becomes the least competitive position, just meaning like the fewest options. Only one of those is not going to make it. So if you consider Hellebuck and Ottinger locks as long as they're healthy, then it's basically Swayman versus Joey Decord for the 3rd spot. And you would probably have to put Swayman in the lead because he was on the 4 Nations team. And then he outplayed Decord when they were on the same team at World Championships this spring. So Swayman probably has the upper hand there. I was a little surprised that Dustin Wolf was not invited, who had a really good rookie season for the Calgary Flames. And then we won't go through the whole list, but my only other snub, my biggest snub, was Lane Hudson not getting invited, which I was a little surprised to see. Like, I would have thought you'd at least want him, even if you don't think he's going to be ready this year, I would think you'd at least kind of want him around this process and have him starting to kind of think about this, because I could definitely see him having a role on Team USA in future Olympics.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was kind of surprised when I saw that. And do you know it's not set in stone though? Like, can they invite guys, like, say partway through the season they're like, oh, we actually really think he's doing better than, X defenseman that we had brought in this 44. Like, this isn't like a binding thing, or is it?
It's not, but I guess I would just say I would be really surprised if anyone not on this list ends up making the final roster. It's possible, but I do think, like, for the most part, it's like this is in their mind the pool of players that they're really seriously looking at.
All right, Scott, I got to get one final take from you before we move on from USA hockey stuff. And Bridget, you have this, correct? Okay. So these are the 1980 jerseys. Now, comparing them to the ones we just showed, I do like the implementation of the stars on the shoulders here. And then you touched on the other differences. USA is horizontal across, not diagonal, and then the striping is a little bit different. It's more it's thicker on these. To me, these ones, now the ones we showed earlier, like I said, they're a 10 out of 10. There could be different types of 10 out of 10s. Like those are unbelievable. I love those. But these two, Scott, like these hit differently too. I don't know what it is about these, but they just hit different. Like I feel like these are the best ones they could possibly do. I don't. It might. I think it's more than that though too. Like the stars and the shoulders, and I don't know. Something about them just hits different.
I might like these the 1980 ones very slightly better. Like it's so close. Now I will say, unless I missed something, I don't think we've seen the white versions of the Olympic jerseys. Correct.
I haven't seen them, and I also didn't see anything of the back, so I'm not sure if they have the white naming like these do, or if it's red, like, or if it's more like
it's red. I saw Eichel, the back of Eichel. It's red on the blue jersey. It's red lettering. And no, they haven't shown the whites. I just, for me, the blues are identical to what they wear at the junior level. So I don't know why they would stray from that much with the whites, but maybe they do.
I suspect it'll look the same, but I was gonna say the one thing about those 1980 jerseys that I only slightly dislike is the striping on the whites. Like for some reason the red blue with like no white in between, it's just slightly off for me. Like I don't know, I don't love it. It's still fine, it's still really solid, but so I just wonder what the striping on the new whites are going to look like, because we haven't even seen that at the junior level. That I don't think they ever wear white versions of those. It's always just the blue.
No, they do. Well,
do they? Am I just forgetting?
Oh yeah, no, they've won them the last couple of years at World Juniors. But the 1980 ones, I agree with you, Scott. The blue ones pop more in the 1980 ones. I do like those blue ones better as well. But yeah, that's how I knew about the helmet usage, Scott, because
oh, you're right. So I was just we don't need to throw it up on like the stream on the video or anything, but yeah. So I'm looking at what the junior team has worn for whites, and the striping is better. It's like it's still blue, red, blue, but there's very thin white in between to break it up, which I like more.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yep. I mean, both sets are just perfection either way. Okay. Speaking of preseason dates, which we've talked about the start of training camp, which is at this point 3.5 weeks away, something like that. So there's something else beforehand that we haven't really touched on much either, which is the showcase tournament for the rookies. I think they go to Buffalo. So that's, I want to say,
training camp is not even 3 weeks away.
Is it the 17th?
Yeah, so just under 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah. And so before then, even you'll be able to consume Bruins content, because there's going to be the prospect showcase tournament that they do in Buffalo, right? And it's I want to say it's like September 12th. So I wonder what the roster will be. Like you're not going to see James Higgins playing that. For those like who can fans expect to see in that tournament for the Bruins? Just similar players that will be at training camp that are fighting for spots, like will a Losh Mellis be there perhaps?
Yeah, he'll be there. I would think that some of the Providence guys that played last year in any capacity, like the younger guys in Providence, I should say, because some of the guys there aren't super young. But yeah, like Brunet probably again, do you think? And then they'll have some of their
definitely. Yeah, like I would say. Yeah, I would say like any of the younger prospects who haven't had a ton of time in the pros yet. So like Riley Duran might be there again. Losh Mellis definitely. Brett Harrison. John Farinacci, probably Brunet, Jackson Edward, Loki Johansson. You know, what I wonder about is like there's a few guys that I think would probably be borderline. Like Fabian Lysell didn't play in this last year. I would not expect him, but like I wonder if they change things up and they're like, hey, maybe this year we think he could benefit. You know, Fraser Minton, I would think, has probably aged out. Merkelov's probably aged out, but you know, you do need enough guys to field a team. There'll be probably some invites, maybe some ECHL guys. So, but yeah, I think like, yeah, for me, I feel like Laschamelis and then the defenseman would probably be the highlights. Like I mentioned, Brunet, Loki Johansson in particular, Jackson Edward, who had a tough year last year and is probably really looking to bounce back. Assuming those guys are all healthy, I don't know if anyone's coming off anything or whatever, but yeah, those are the guys that I would be looking at.
Yeah, and I should say college kids don't normally play in this because they're already with their teams. They've been with their teams since like at least some teams go really early. Like when we talked to Will Zellers, those guys were already there in North Dakota. So that was what, the first week of August or maybe even the last week of July. So these guys are by that time in pretty much full swing with their college teams. So like Hagens and Moore and all of the guys that are playing in the NCAA this season will be pretty busy with ramping up for their NCAA season.
So when you mentioned, Scott, that you think Minton may age out, he's younger than Lysell. So wouldn't Lysell be aged out as well?
I think Minton's had more NHL experience and probably less use for a tournament like this. Like I guess
you mean inexperience, age out.
Yeah, by age out, I don't mean like actual. I don't literally mean age because I don't think there's an age limit. But okay. I just mean in terms of experience. Like there's not. I wouldn't imagine there's really anything that Fraser Minton can get from this.
Okay. Appreciate that clarification for myself. So where do you guys want to go from here? I know you had some conversation last week that, we could obviously revisit a little bit, but was there anything else on the top of your minds that you wanted to go over while we have each other here?
This is an interesting discussion. Like maybe we'll get into it more at some other point if it actually happens, but we haven't talked much about the possibility of QMJHL teams coming to New England. And the reason I want to bring it up now is because there's been a little bit of reporting around this. Friend of the pod, friend of the pod, Mark Diver, reported this week. Well, I guess maybe not report, but he tweeted, no details right now, but rumor in the rinks points to Lewiston, Maine as possible site for a QMJHL franchise. City had Q hockey there from 2003 to 2010, playing at the 4,000 seat Colisée in Lewiston. And that was the Lewiston Maniacs, spelled like Maine, state of Maine, EX. Great name. I hope if they do get the team, they bring that back.
She's a maniac, maniac on the. They have to have that as a goal song. You have to.
Yeah, and Jimmy Murphy added that that Pierre McGuire, who he does his sick pod with,
also friend of the pod.
Yes, said on their podcast last week that Manchester, New Hampshire is pushing hard for a Q team, and so I remember initially. So basically, the reason that this is happening is the way the rules have changed now are allowing for more going back and forth between NCAA and Canadian Major Juniors. It's going to do two things. One, you're going to see more top Canadian players playing college hockey, but you're also going to see more American players go play Major Juniors before college because they might look at it and say, well, if my options are USHL or Canadian Major Juniors, they may very well value Canadian Major Juniors higher. I mean, it is generally a better league than the USHL. So if that's an option on the table, that before that was never an option. You had to pick if you thought you wanted to play college hockey, then you couldn't go to major juniors as a 16 or 17-year-old. Now you can. So you're going to see more Americans, which means you're going to see these Canadian teams market themselves to Americans more. And there's actually like a QMJHL, I forget what they called it. It was not like a summit, but some sort of camp that they had in Massachusetts earlier this summer. So like this is already starting. And right now the Q is the only one of the 3 Canadian major junior leagues that does not have a team in the US. They haven't had one since the Lewiston Maniacs folded, almost 15 years ago. So it makes sense that they would be looking to expand into New England. And right away, the 2 places that got mentioned were Manchester and Portland. So maybe now Lewiston makes more sense as the main market, especially if the Colisée is still in playing condition and like up to date and everything. Manchester's interesting. Like the obvious rink you pick would be Snu Arena, which obviously used to be the Manchester Monarchs rink in the AHL, is now not a full-time hockey building, as college hockey learned during regionals this year, where there were all kinds of issues. I think there's also been I think there's like an issue with them renting out to tenants as well. Like there's been some hesitation on whether that should be a full-time hockey arena now or should be left open for like concerts and other events. So there would be stuff to work through, but like in theory that could make sense as well. So I just find this all very interesting. Like I know, if we get them, like I'd love to go to a couple of those games. So, mix that in with Bruins and college hockey and everything else. But, like if there's a top prospect playing in the queue and, we can go see them in New England, like I'd be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I think we're the kind of people, and I'm sure the people who listen to our podcast are probably the kind of people who just the more the merrier to watch in the area. So we're so used to having good college hockey here and like an abundance of choices of good college hockey, and then obviously the Bruins and then the P Bruins. But yeah, add more in. And some people, I think because of this past season, have got, and us talking about prospects because the Bruins were going to pick high, maybe have gotten more into the names of the QMJHL because we've been talking about Denwye, and like there are prospects that might interest people, especially if the team's bad. I guess I'll say there might be people they are interested in seeing that are making their case for the pros playing in the QMJHL rather than college. But it's all good. Add as much hockey to this area as you want. That's the good thing about New England is I really do feel like it's a market that can sustain so much. I mean, we have a PWHL team now too up in Lowell. So there's a lot of people that on any given, like say it's a Saturday, like, what are we going to do? Let's just go to the hockey game. At least that's me. Even on my Saturdays that I don't have to broadcast the hockey game, I'll end up at a hockey game somewhere. Normally I'm like, oh, I don't have work tonight. Oh, I'm just going to go to the rink anyway. So.
Yeah. I mean, Manchester's a tough sell for the Q. I mean, we know that these leagues take buses, right? And I think their closest away game would be like maybe 3.5, 4 hours if it was southern Quebec. I feel like those teams were scattered all over Quebec, which is obviously a large province. So
but
that's a tough sell.
Yeah,
like,
I mean they go.
There's parts of Maine where you can justify it because if you go north enough in Maine, it's kind of lateral at times. But Southern New Hampshire is tough.
Yeah, but I mean the Q also has all the Maritimes, and I would bet Manchester is going to be a shorter road trip than some of those, like out to Nova Scotia or New Brunswick. Newfoundland has a team now, which is not an easy place to get to at all. So,
okay.
that they're already kind of expanding, and I think there's going to be more money coming into the league, so I'm sure they would manage. I also saw
point.
this one. I have no idea if it could ever be realistic, but I just thought it was fun. Someone responded to Mark's tweet. Eric Young on Twitter said, "Sneaky location that could probably be a decent home, Chelmsford Forum, 3,500 seats, which is like a normal Q rink
Is that
size.
real?
Little renovation, it could be a good home."
That's a real. That's not is that. Oh, that was a comment. That was a comment.
That was a comment.
Not a report. Okay.
No, I can't imagine that really happening. But like, I mean, if you actually think about it, it's like, but maybe ?
Listen, I was playing at the Chelmsford Forum back when it was still called the Telly Forum. So I love and respect it as a barn, but that's
Attleboro built a little rink a few years back. They should just go play there.
Well, no, I think the key is like it is going to have to be at least 3,500 seats. So like you can obviously wipe out most like public high school rinks, but yeah, I mean, I would love it. But by the way, as a Billerica native, I am also obligated to point out that the Chelmsford Forum is actually in Billerica.
There you go. Obligation. Yep.
Yeah, but you got to be loyal to Hallenberg though. You can't really.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I like to say that Billerica has 2 rinks. Chelmsford has 0.
Yeah. Chelmsford does have they do actually have a good amount of seating now that I think about it. They do have a lot of times the mass tournament they'll play like the I don't know what not the Super 8, but like maybe like the round before that.
Yeah, like they'll hold. Yeah, I mean they had like semifinals this year.
So maybe it is a Super 8.
Like semifinals, quarterfinals. Yeah.
Okay. Bridget, do you want us to let you go now and we can finish up?
Yeah, I just want to hear, Brian, because we talked about this last episode. I want to ask you, and I have probably like 3 to 5 minutes that I can sit here and listen to your answers. The topic was, which players did you watch, whether that be in college or early in their pro career, and think they're going to do better than they ended up doing, like significantly better. Like you were like, oh, this guy, I can't wait to watch this guy in like a few years. And then they just didn't really pan out.
Well, a couple come to mind. They're not probably the sexiest answers, but one that in the last decade that I was watching was Dylan Sakura at Northeastern. Do you remember him? Looking back now, he was a 4-year player. So that could be an indication that if you're playing 4 years in college, maybe you aren't going to be, maybe you're going to the NHL early from college if you're really that good. But I remember at Northeastern in particular, his last 2 years, he just lit it up. And I was looking up his numbers earlier. I think he had something like 141 college points in 137 games, most of those coming in his junior and senior year. So he was a fun prospect out of Northeastern. Didn't end up doing much in the NHL. He's 30 now, and I think he's playing in the KHL. I think he may have played close to 60 NHL games. Didn't really do much. Bounced around with Chicago, maybe Colorado for a stint. But he was somebody out of Hockey East locally. I was like, oh, he could be a fun player to watch. Didn't really pan out. And then the other one, this guy panned out somewhat, if you want to just say becoming an NHLer is panning out. But we all remember the Jimmy Vesey sweepstakes. And Jimmy Vesey didn't really turn out to be someone worth having sweepstakes over. I'll put it to you that way. So that's an interesting one to look back at as well.
Yeah. Your Dylan Sakura pick reminded me of another one from Northeastern, Kevin Waugh. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was awesome to watch in college. Had a couple incredible Beanpots in particular. I think he was the Beanpot Hall of Fame inductee this past year, and deservingly so. But he played like 30 NHL games ultimately with Anaheim. He was an Anaheim draft pick, but I thought he was gonna be more than that. Now he was a little on the smaller side, so that worked against him, but he was a lot of fun to watch in Northeastern.
And you know who else from UMass that I didn't think was gonna make it? Like, I maybe thought he would play a little bit in the pros, but not be an NHL All-Star, was Frank Vetrano. And we got him from BC because I think he had academically become ineligible to play there. And so he came over to UMass, missed the first semester of the first season that he was going to be there. And then like he was always good, but he was so one-dimensional. Like he was only an offensive zone player. And I just didn't know if it was going to translate to the NHL. And now look at him. So, I mean, he's had a good NHL career too. Just like I mentioned, Connor Sheary was somebody that undrafted was able to make the team and play with Crosby and Ovechkin at different points in his career. So,
I mean, I'm curious. You mentioned Connor Sheary, so this name pops to my mind too. What were Jake Gensel's numbers at St. Cloud? Was he lighting the world on fire?
He was Nebraska Omaha.
It was that he's like the one good player that came out of Nebraska Omaha.
They have same colors as St. Cloud. Are they red, black, and white?
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking that. Okay, but yeah, like, did he light it up at the collegiate level?
He put up a lot of points.
He was pretty
his final. So he left after his junior year. He had 46 points in 35 games.
Yeah.
So like good, but not great.
Not necessarily like someone you think will become, one of the highest coveted free agents in his draft in his free agent year in the NHL and be a cup champion. I mean, you just never. It's tough to sometimes you don't know how to gauge. You have certain players at the NCAA level that go off and you think they're going to be something, and then sometimes it's the guys that are in the weeds that they're a point per game or just a bit over, and they take off after that. The old NCAA. Now we've talked about it. Now it's changing with the talents changing and everything like that. But Scott, did you have anything else worth going over while the three of us are here, or do you want to continue? I think I'm probably good.
Yeah, I think we can just wrap the episode up.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow.
We always say maybe we'll just do 45 minutes, and obviously we never do.
Never.
This time, let's actually just keep it under 50 minutes.
That works for me. We'll get Bridget out of here, and that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all very much for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.